So about One Piece. One Piece is a pretty good show. If you take a look at my channel, a good chunk of my videos are One Piece related. It's hard not to like the show. Well, I mean, people who are intimidated by the sheer volume of content it provides kind of are. But most people who have given it a fair shot ended up loving the series. They start to appreciate the story for how long it is, still being able to keep it interesting after 23 years. And for people who critique One Piece or just any show for the length, they are missing a big factor. Certain shows merit different lengths based on what the show is about, and One Piece is a story literally about traveling the world. So with a plot as vast and big as that, it could make sense for a show to be that long. Like, as long as the story stays consistent and doesn't get watered down, I don't see the issue. There's a difference between a show being dragged out and a show being long out of necessity. In fact, it would probably feel even worse if it was shorter, because Oda would have to leave certain things unaddressed or cram it all into a specific size and have it feel rushed. So if anyone's wondering if my critique was the length, it isn't. I don't like saying a certain anime is my favorite out of all of them or to rank them, because I can like a different anime for a lot of different reasons. Like comparing Baki to some slice of life anime. It's just comparing apples to oranges. But if I had to pick only one show to watch for the rest of my life, I would say One Piece. And while it is a very respectable series, with having such a tight-knit story with pretty much no plot holes, it's hard not to admire it. But there is one thing that is kind of a downer. It isn't really story breaking, but something that I noticed, and that is the pacing. Before I get into it though, remember to like and subscribe for future content. Alright, I know this might sound a little contradictory to what I was just saying, since I was just talking about how the length is not a critique of mine, but when I'm talking about the pacing, I'm referring to a different aspect of it. The length it is taking real time with over 1,000 chapters I think is fine and understandable, but the length of time that had passed in the story itself is questionable for me. Because just think about this for a second. Before Luffy started his whole journey, look at previous events before it. First of all, there's Roger. He had started his journey around his early 20s or mid 20s, so he started a little later than Luffy did. I didn't really fact check this exactly, but the general timeline shows that Luffy is around his 3rd year of traveling, and Roger hadn't become Pirate King until he was well within his 40s. So around 20-ish years it took Roger. Or another example is Odin. He had traveled around as a pirate for around 5 years, so around double the time Luffy had traveled currently. So around 20 years for Roger to become king of the pirates, and 5 for Odin to travel and see the world, while Luffy is only at his 3rd year in his journey, and he's already about to become a Yonko. This is what I was referring to with the pacing. There are even more examples of this. Katakuri, Doflamingo, the Admirals, and even Blackbeard. All major characters that Luffy are up against are significantly older and way more experienced as well, but somehow in only 3 years he's been traveling, he's already at the point to challenge the top brass. I understand that they all went down different paths, but that's kind of bull. Even if you include the years he spent training on the island, which is around 10, it is significantly less than the rest, and it's not like the others have been doing nothing in their childhoods either. Most, if not all of them, have something going on as well, so Luffy being at the level he is now is kind of a stretch. Again, I'm not saying One Piece is bad or anything like that because of this. One Piece is still one of my favorite shows, but with this being the case, it feels like there's just leaving a lot left on the table, because just imagine transitions from one season to another with slower pacing. From like the East Blue to the Grand Line taking a year or 2 in their time, and instead of like a month, it will feel much more impactful, and it will give much more depth to the story, letting you know how vast the world really is. There are already scenes like this, like when Zoro fights Mihawk and Baratie, but if it was done in this kind of way, it would be brought to a whole nother level. I think it is partly because of how unintentionally long One Piece is. Like, Oda did not imagine it would be going for as long as it is now when he started it, so for him to try and change up the pacing now will mess up with the timelines and stuff. So there's not really anything to be done about it. It's not something that kills the series or anything, just something that I noticed. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and subscribe for future content. Peace.